In 25 years, the Hawks had made that journey, did fall to Stanford in that Rose Bowl game. The really good news is the bulk of the team is back for Coach Kirk Ferentz, led by CJ Beathard, arguably the top returning quarterback in the Big Ten, and will be healthy, something that he wasn't for much of last year. Had a tremendous year despite that, a second-team All-Big Ten selection. You see the numbers of key players back. I mean, you bring back the Thorpe Award winner and Desmond King, first time a Thorpe Award winner for the nation's top defensive back has ever returned to play another year of college football. The schedule is fairly favorable as well for Iowa this year, so a lot to look forward to for Kirk Ferentz. And the coach is joining us now. And, Coach, there is such a different vibe around this team than there was a year ago, which I suppose tells you how much the vibe actually means, right? It was a meaningless vibe last year because you guys turned in one of the best seasons in school history. But how do you approach things differently when you're coming off a season with as many successes as you had?
Yeah, I think one of the first things we need to do is really be mindful of why we were successful last year. And there were very few games where any of us were relaxed in the last 4 minutes. We had one game that was a blowout. Otherwise, it was usually a pretty narrow margin of victory and usually a really hotly contested game. So, we did a lot of little things right. And I think, not to be confrontational, but just said key departures. I saw two names. I would say we had 21 seniors that just did a great job of giving us leadership. And it may not have translated to necessarily NFL talent, but it really translated to guys that did a powerful job in leading our team.
Donardo builds the graphics, so take it up.
Coach, I'm going to take you up on that schedule comment, too. That sounded like a media guy. You don't have to play the schedule.
A year ago, we talked about your very unique practice schedule. Now, half the teams in the Big Ten practice in the morning. You practice in the morning, but you take Thursday off, which is what made your schedule unique last year. How'd you like it? Are you going to continue to do it? And how many people came and visited to say, well, we'll be 12-0 if we do it?
It's interesting. Yeah, we loved it, first of all. It was something new for us and a little scary, especially taking the day off later in the week. That was a little bit scary for all of us the first month or so. But I think the bottom line is our players felt good about it, and that's really all that counts. And then they showed up and played well on Saturday. So, we really believe in it. Then the interesting part, I think I've had two conversations about it. Two separate conversations, period, about, just what we did. So that's fine with me. We'll leave it at that.
What did the players like about it the most?
I think they all felt fresher at the end of the week. I think that was a big thing
because
for
of
us.
Thursday off?
And I think I would say the same thing about our coaching staff. It put a little bit more pressure on us on the front end. But, we've been playing Nebraska on Fridays anyway, so there's a little carryover that way. And, I think at the end of the week, our guys all felt fresher. They were more alert, more rested, more in tune, I think, mentally. And I'd say the same thing about our football team.
Coach, in the media conference earlier today, you were talking about Desmond King coming back and what went into that decision. And it really just wasn't about him. It's about all of your players that have the ability to leave school early. What was that message again?
Yeah, we've had it both ways where guys have left, and I don't have any problem with that. My only first concern is to make sure they have the whole picture, accurate information from them to make a good decision, not what their uncle tells them or somebody on the street. So we try to make sure we get good information from reliable NFL people. Yeah, and then, what I try to tell guys is, when they're 26 or 27, they're going to be on an NFL team. They'll be making good money. They'll be living the dream, if you will. So it's one of the few times in life where you really can do what you want to do instead of maybe what you have to do or feel compelled to do. And I think, anybody that's ever played football knows senior years, you only get two of them, are the most special years of your career. And I think both Desmond and Brandon Sheriff the year before that felt like that was worth it for them to be back and be an integral part of the team and a real leader.
What does he bring back to you this year? On the field, that's very clear.
Yeah.
But in the locker room, walking the campus, what are some of the things he adds to your team now?
I think the thing I'd really point out about Desmond's season last year, to me at least, I think it was him taking those first 2 years of playing, and he got thrown in our first ball game when he was a freshman, well before, he was probably ready, but he did a great job. So I think last year was kind of him taking the knowledge of those 2 years and really putting it to his advantage. Now he's got a chance to do that, and that's a great role model for the rest of the guys on our football team. And the way he goes about his business, he's serious about his team-oriented. Everything you hope as a coach, a player would be, Desmond is that.
Coach, you're off to a fast start with this 2017 recruiting class. It's never one reason why, but what are some of the reasons why?
I think a couple of things. We've changed our approach there a little bit. We as you alluded to a minute ago, we went back and reevaluated our practice procedures, and we've done the same thing with our bowl game. You'll be happy to know our bowl procedure moving forward. We did that this out of season. But we did the same thing, had some good conversations a couple of years back on our recruiting. So I think our approach has been a little bit smarter, a little bit better maybe, and then a huge factor is moving into the Hanson practice facility. We did that a year ago, January, and I can't say enough about it on all regards, whether it's most importantly our players getting to experience it and help our preparation, but certainly from a recruiting aspect too. It's you just have to have it in this day and age. So it's been very impactful. I think it speaks to the commitment level of the University of Iowa to being good in football and being good in everything we do, be it academically or athletically.
A little bit different situation this year for CJ Beathard coming in. He's going to be healthy going into the summer, obviously, to camp. But how has he grown through those 15 days in the spring and also just being around the guys?
It's we're all number one eager to see him healthy. It's been since last September, and we saw him able to pull it down and run like he can. And I think the interesting thing about CJ last year, he was basically a first-year player. And, boy, he just did a phenomenal job and then had to deal with an injury situation that was more than serious. And so, the poise that he displayed, the mental toughness, and then, as you might imagine, the leadership, the way the guys embraced him and respected him. He's a real improvement-driven guy. So the experience I think he was able to garner last year, he's going to put that to good use. And we're just all really excited to have him lead our football team. He's a tremendous young man.
You're an offensive line guy at heart. You spend a lot of time with that group. I always observe that when we're coming through campus. You had such a good group last year, and now you have a player in Sean Welsh who's making a position move for you. How important is that move to the success of this year's offensive line?
I think we have a young man last year, a true freshman, one of the only four freshmen who played, James Daniels, who we think is a really good center prospect. Unfortunately, an injury that kept him out of the spring. So, we just felt like, it was really important that we have somebody who's going to be on the team this fall in their plan at that position this past spring. So it gave Sean 15 days of experience there. We haven't made a full-time decision who will be our center, but it'll be probably one of those two players. And we'll decide that during camp. But the good news is that those guys are getting great experience. And centers like quarterback, in some degree, you got to have a guy in there that really can kind of take command of things and keep everybody on the same page. So we feel like we have that in Sean. I think James Daniels is a really good prospect. And, so either way, whatever we end up doing, I think we'll have a good center in there. And the other guy will probably be playing guard.
I was going to say, because I know we both are really excited.
He won't be too far away.
He won't be too far. He'll be on the field.
Two other positions I want to ask you about that I look at and think, okay, maybe these are areas of some concern. Rushing the passer, I think, is one, and the other is a deep threat. You lose Tavon Smith, so who can step up there?
I'll start with rushing the passer. That's been a concern basically since Norm Parker showed up in '99. That was always, we never blitz enough and all that kind of stuff. But when we can generate with our front four, if we can generate some rush, that's always a good thing. Hopefully we'll be able to get some pressure inside. We have Jaleel Johnson, Nate Budget, were both first-year players last year that we think have a chance to really play well for us this year. Parker Hesse, unfortunately, got to play more than we would have liked because of Drew Ott's injury, and I think, he took a real step forward last spring. And then Matt Nelson, another guy who was a redshirt freshman last year, got to play more as the season went on, and another guy that we really have high hopes for. Saw him take a big step in the spring. I'm confident both he and Parker will do the same again this coming August. And you never know, we may have a guy or two in the wings waiting to help give us a little juice up there too. And then we'll mix in a little pressure at that, hopefully, and be able to disrupt the passing game. Getting sacks is getting tougher and tougher, but at least if you keep people out of rhythm, that helps.
What about in terms of a deep threat?
The deep threat's another position we're really anxious to look at this coming camp. Matt Vandenberg comes back, and I think Matt's probably a little bit underrated in some ways. Riley McCarron's a good, solid player. And then we've got a couple of freshmen that we played last year, Jeremy Smith, Adrian Falconer, and Jay Shills, another young guy that's been hurt a little bit. Jonathan Parker, another young player who, I say young, he's young at that position, went to receiver a year ago. He can get down the field as well. So hopefully out of that group something's going to emerge. I'm confident it will. We're just not sure how it's going to get scripted out yet.
Finally, I feel bad reminding you of this every year, but it is interesting this year because now you are, along with Bob Stoops, the longest tenured coach of anyone in the country, going into your 18th year at Iowa. Would you have envisioned when you began back in 2000 that this is a conversation we'd be having?
I got there, I think in November of 99 after my first season. Yeah. Nobody would have envisioned that. We could have made some good money in Vegas on that one, certainly. But it's something I consider a real honor to be at Iowa, and to share that honor with Bob Stoops, a fellow Iowan. He was a junior when I got there in '81 as an assistant, and Bob stayed on our staff and coached for a couple of years. So you look at the longevity of Coach Fry, Bob Stoops, obviously, Barry Alvarez in this conference, Bill Snyder in the down at Kansas State. So that must be something in the water at Iowa. But I think all of us have been smart enough to realize when we have something good, we stick with it.
Head coach of the Hawkeyes again heading into year 18 and doing so as the defending champions of the West Division. Coach, always appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
It's my pleasure, guys. Thanks. And thanks for the job you guys do. Thanks.